any teachers in the audience? And I mean teachers, tutors, anyone who may teach others. Can you wave your hand if you're a teacher? And can you have a look at those wonderful people and give them a huge round of applause? They don't always get the recognition they deserve. Are there any parents in the audience? Give them another really big round of applause. Because we're just looking at the two most important tomorrow jobs that currently exist. If you currently don't have a tomorrow job, this talk is for you, as well as the teachers, as well as the parents. This is about learning for tomorrow. I've chosen a Shakespeare quote to start. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day. And way back in Shakespeare's time, he was already considering what is it we need to know today to cope with tomorrow. And so I'm going to talk about three things quite quickly. The tomorrow challenge, the fact that we're currently ignoring tomorrow, and then how do we embrace tomorrow? Okay, so first of all, what is this tomorrow challenge? Well, you may have heard the statistic, 60% of the best jobs haven't yet been invented. I told them earlier that about 80% of statistics are made up on the spot, but I believe this one might be true. If those jobs aren't invented yet, how do we train, how do we teach, how do we learn for the future of those jobs? The second thing is we can't afford to ignore education or learning. It's not just about whether or not we become economically viable, but in a vastly and rapidly changing world, we need to also be able to overcome ignorance of many kinds. And we might focus quite a lot saying, oh, well, all of tomorrow's jobs are going to be about technology, but actually we need to really check ourselves on that, because I just had my hair done by some amazing beauticians, and the service industry is going to be one of the industries of the future. And we also need to be very careful, because research is showing that technology might actually be quite addictive to children. So these are some of the challenges, the inconsistencies and the contradictions that we face with this. Now, there's a famous quote, and that is that when the wind of change blows, those who cope build windmills. They don't build walls. And in our modern society, the idea of building walls has become even more pertinent now. We need to teach our future children how to build windmills when those winds of change blow. So what are we doing about it? Well, at the moment, our education systems pretty much globally are ignoring tomorrow. We have what I would call the education for yesterday. It worked for our politicians, like our grammar school education in the UK, and maybe the education system where children sit in rows and we try and make them listen. That's yesterday's education. We've also developed an obsession with testing. And I learned the expression the first time I visited Romania: a pig doesn't grow any fatter no matter how many times you weigh it. The knowledge economy, which I think may be something of a myth, we need to be very, very careful about telling everybody that the future is what you know. The future is in your knowledge, when actually the future might be in what you can do and the personality you have. If you think, 10 years ago, I'd never heard of the job social media marketing manager. 20 years ago, I'd never heard of a wind farm engineer. So we think about this knowledge economy. Yes, there are those jobs, but often it's the personality. Those are the skills we need to be teaching, the skills of customer care. We also need to consider something called now the post-truth post-truth society. The fact that we have to deal with is the alternative facts. One of the key things we need to be teaching our children is not to believe everything you read on the internet. Because discernment is actually going to be really important for our future children. And then the final point. I asked my grandmother before I was doing this speech, Grandma, you're 96, and you have seen a lot of changes in your time. What do you think is the most awesome thing that's happened, the most difficult thing you've had to come to terms with? All the technology, the fact that you've been able to use Facebook. And she said, oh, darling, I had to come to terms with yogurt. But actually, there's so much that we don't really know about what we've got to come to terms with. The future is so uncertain. And in fact, I can say one thing standing here with certainty is the future is very uncertain. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to embrace tomorrow. And we're going to be led by the cat in the hat to do that. Because what we need to be able to do is think left, think right, think low, think high. The thinks we could think up if only we try. We need a creative generation. We need children to be in school learning to learn, learning to love learning, and learning to work together so they can think up the thinks that we're going to need for our very challenging future. Fundamental skills, like literacy. This photograph is taken from a project in Papua New Guinea, and this project is where adults who can read, even just a little bit, they go and teach the people next door to them or the children in their community to read. So if they learn a word, they're going to teach that word to someone else. It's called Wampler School in Wampler. It means each one, teach one. It's a community initiative because literacy is a fundamental tool that so many of the people in our world don't have yet. Many people in the UK don't have, and I know here in Romania, many children are still struggling to get literacy. But that's one of the first tools in their toolkit. And the second tool is numeracy, the skills of adding up. And even if all you've got to do that with is stones, we can still be teaching children those skills of numeracy. But they're tools. They're not something that has to be tested over and over again to see if they are numerate. They're tools that they can use for problem solving, tools that they can use for communication, tools that they can use to do things with. These children here walk for 2 hours to get to school because they recognize the importance of those tools for their future life. Communication skills are going to be essential. And not just about communicating as in telling people things, but understanding the other, understanding other languages, understanding the fact that people see things differently from you. They come from different cultures and different backgrounds. In our current world, with so many issues of strife, that is going to be a fundamental skill for the children of our future. And problem solving. This is me encountering the instructions for Lego. And my niece saying to me, Auntie Lisa, you're not very good at this, are you? And I said, I'm a little bit stuck, and I'm not used to following instructions. But problem solving is an essential skill for the future. So many of the children I encounter, they want to know, tell me the answer. Like there's this answer, and they can get that answer. Tell me the answer. But there aren't any answers. The world of tomorrow is moving on so fast. We don't know what the answers are. We can't tell the children of today what the answers are for tomorrow. We've got to give them the skills and the tools to solve their own problems. They might not always have the Lego instructions to follow to make a dragon, or they may not have an auntie with her head in her hands. We also need to be able to take risks. We need to be able to teach children, teach the future generation that it's okay to fail. It's actually okay to make a mistake. Our testing culture isn't really helping them with that. I met a parent recently who had paid extra money for their child to have extra lessons just for the SATs test at the age of 7. 7. That child should have been out climbing trees, problem solving, risk taking. Those are the skills for the future. Also, these are girls in this tree. And it's really, really important that we get rid of those distinctions about what girls and boys can't do. We need female engineers, female risk takers. We need girls that climb trees too. So, embracing our tomorrow, what would a future curriculum look like? Well, it's creativity. It's where children bring together the tools they've learned and they learn and do together. They're creative. It's about problem solving. It's also about putting problem solving and creativity together so that what they are able to do is build things and problem solve together. It's about communication skills. But it's not just about communicating, it's putting the communication skills into a session, into a lesson. It's about teamwork. And this slide here is from an activity I've just done recently. And that activity was children were learning about the plant hunters of the 18th century. And back in the 18th century, we were searching for cures for diseases. We went to look for plants all over the place. But the children dressed up, they were given tools, they were taught information by someone dressed up as an explorer, but they were digging things up, they were counting the samples, they were working in teams to collect things. So the education of the future combines all our skills. It doesn't sit us in rows. It brings us together and it gives us activities to problem solve, to do things, and to act. It's not just also about risk-taking, it's about resilience. One of the key things children are going to need for their future is resilience. I've worked for many years, and I have had so many jobs, and that's now. The children of our future are going to change careers many times. There's no such thing as a job for life anymore. So what those children need is to be able to get up and get on with it. When things go wrong or when things didn't go in the direction they went, they need that resilience to say, hey, I know how to get over being stuck. I know how to learn for myself. And through activities in school where they have given time, what I call struggle space, they learn that resilience. And finally, they need to just learn how to learn. I've recently done a project where we taught children how to just enjoy storytelling. And through that, the literacy grades of those children went up and up and up. We didn't put them through tests. We didn't make them do anything like that. We just read stories, and we also asked them to invent their own stories. And as a result, their literacy levels increased. Okay, so the most important thing is, if we're going to create this future, if we're going to do this, we're all in it together. This isn't just for schools, this isn't just for parents, this is all of us. It says in Africa it takes a whole village to educate a child, but if we're going to do something about the future of the children tomorrow, it takes all of us to do this, to lobby the school, to lobby the government, and to say this is the education we want for our children tomorrow. And we want it for every child, not just the special ones, not just the rich ones. This is something we need for every child. And so to finish on Shakespeare, if you can look into the seeds of time and say which grain will grow and which will not, and we can't. We don't know which child will be the next prime minister, next president, the next great footballer. But what we do know is if we give them all a chance, if we give them that education for tomorrow, then they will lead us into tomorrow, and they will overcome some of those challenges, some of those things that we are seeing. If we do this together, then they will learn for tomorrow. Thank you very much. Mulțumesc.